Welcome to my video. This is going to be my spoiler-free review of Ash vs. Evil Dead. Now, I do intend to spoil the movies leading up to the show, but not the show itself. If you just want to briefly hear, if you haven't watched the movies, or at least not all, the 4 movies that had come out by the time this show first started airing, and you're just trying to figure out if the show is worth watching, it absolutely is. If you really get into Evil Dead's 2 and 3 or Army of Darkness, yes, 100% you're gonna love this. Absolutely love this show. The show is rated TVMA, so will this video be, and let's get right into it. I love all 5 of the movies, and I think they just got better and better, and they started out extremely strong. And yeah, it may have been over 30 years, but Ash continues doing the Lord's work just as he has for as long as we've known him. Begrudgingly, belligerently, alternating between whining and machismo, usually barely succeeding, and sometimes only through luck. And we love him for it. Now, like anything that is at least partially inspired by H.P. Lovecraft and demonizes non-Christian belief systems, this is unfortunately somewhat racist, and honestly it easily could have been about Christianity, since that features one of the most famous zombies in Jesus. I can appreciate the movie didn't want to enrage conservative Christians who, let's be honest, look for any excuse to be offended about their religion and its depiction in media, as if there are not countless pieces of media that have a positive, even propagandistic depiction of it. But the reason for there being supernatural evil didn't need to be, well, supernatural. It could have been at least somewhat on, though fairly dubious signs, like the original Night of the Living Dead, a movie that the first Evil Dead movie does take inspiration from in other respects. And no, I don't think it was too late to retcon when this show started, since this show retcons a bunch of other stuff. And honestly, this is very much one of those things. I don't think it's a problem. And certainly some of the retcons, I don't know how you have a show without them. Basically, over the course of the show, you'll realize what is and isn't considered canon from the movies, and just, yeah, you'll pick up enough that you'll understand what is canon and what isn't. As per usual, there were some rights issues. That's been the case with every single, after the first one, they've always had rights issues with what they could show and reference and this type of stuff. And yeah. Now, the show does feature a lot of misogynistic content, sexual assault, rape, stuff that's implying it, coded as it, sometimes played for laughs, joking about consent, making out to be silly rather than preventing rape. Ash literally cannot meet a conventionally attractive woman and not desire her, and because he thinks that he's God's gift to women, that leads to a lot of hilarious, pathetic flirting where he desperately tries to pick up women oblivious to all of their obvious signs that they have no interest in him. However, a non-zero amount of times a female character will be shown to have no romantic interest in Ash, and later that will change, supporting the misogynistic notion that if a woman says no, you just have to keep pushing until eventually she relents. The show is eager to show women being choked, especially by men, which is messed up because it's one of those things that domestic abusers do. It is true that there's a lot of violence towards men as well, but violence against women in media can normalize violence against women in real life in a way that just isn't the same when it comes to depictions of violence against men. There are cases where women have been severely punished, including by the quote-unquote justice system, for fighting back when men have committed a lot of violence against a woman and the woman finally tries to defend herself, even if she doesn't hurt him. There's one case where a woman, Marissa Alexander, clearly fired a gun careful not to injure the man, but it was punished as if she tried to kill him, sentenced to 20 years. It took the jury 12 minutes to make the decision. The defense tried invoking the stand your ground law, which has gotten men off killing, but because she was a woman and black people wanted her to suffer, ultimately there was a movement that succeeded in making in making the penalty less severe, but there's countless other cases where women have been punished for daring to not simply take whatever violence a man wanted to dish out. Also, every single time there's a prominent case of a man physically abusing a woman, even when there's video evidence, even when it's really clear that it's the man doing something wrong, you have a lot of misogynists on social media. Some are even willing to show their face, attach their real name to it, defending this. And I hate to say it, but there is a segment of the horror movie fan community that enjoy watching women be hurt, at least in fiction. And I don't mean feeling a cathartic thrill of seeing violence in fiction. I mean literally they want to see women get hurt, and fiction is a way for them to do that without causing real-life violence or looking for videos of real-life violence. Right, critics' reviews of this show are worth reading. And yeah, so with the films, you can watch one of them, all 5, anywhere in between, and be able to follow what you watch, no problem. And this show, I would recommend starting from the start of the show, but you can actually watch this without having watched the movies first. It's going to tell you all the stuff you need to know. And like many other shows, if you do get into one of the later episodes, you'll be able to follow it fine. The previously on will get, but it won't quite have the same emotional impact. A bunch of top 100 voted IMDb user reviews are just people complaining it got canceled, asking for it to come back. I guess no one told them that Reddit and or X, formerly Twitter, exist. I wish reviews like that were deleted or moved. It's fine to have that as part of your review, but like I said, a bunch of them were just that. Like, they didn't review the show at all. They just act like this. Oh, this is a suggestion box. And right, this show, despite coming out after the 2013 remake, which reignited interest, this does stay true to the original trilogy, realizing that this is what fans of the trilogy want in how Deadites look and behave and the tone. And this is very much a Sam Raimi property. Also, this came out, around the same time that the Star Wars sequel trilogy also started coming out. And, I do think there's a lot to love about those, especially The Last Jedi. I'm really glad that there's finally more diversity on screen in Star Wars, considering that, look at the politics of the original trilogy. It's so far left. And yet, you have people saying, oh, I don't want black people in there. Come on, man. Jesus fucking Christ. Yes. So, that trilogy has an excess of references to the original trilogy. This show definitely does have a bunch of references to the Evil Dead trilogy, but it's not just non-stop that. It feels like this is what you get if it's a TV show set in that world. And yeah, they do things on the show that feel like they fit in the universe of the trilogy, but required modern technology and a bigger budget, so it wasn't in those, and that is the exact right way to approach this. There's no reason to act like you're still limited by those things. Now, the character of Kelly is somewhat stereotypical for a female character, but it's largely positive stereotypes. Not to that many hateful ones. There are some of the more negative stereotypes about some of the female characters on the show, but with Kelly, she cares about her family more so than the men are shown to. And yeah, the show has the fantastic mix of the grotesque and the campy, morbidly funny. Very early in the show, Ash fights a possessed little girl doll in the store where he works, which arms itself with an X-Acto blade in addition to its short teeth. And he's smashing flower pots from a nearby shelf over it to get it to stop biting him. Child's play by way of The Exorcist with the DIY approach to destroying the undead that we know and love from the Evil Dead trilogy. The show usually goes for practical effects whenever it's possible. And there is some CG, and some of the time it's not 100% convincing, although definitely by the end of the show, it's gotten a lot better. I believe this was a budget issue. And I don't think there was ever enough unconvincing CG, you know, in a short space of time in the show that it got, like, distracting and really pulled you out of it. Consistent with the trilogy, unlike, you know, too much recent horror. Thankfully, this is overflowing with build-up, suspense, and the like, rather than trying to immediately dive into the really gruesome and such, which is not to say that there isn't still a lot of that. And yeah, a lot of episodes have, you know, the gruesome stuff, but also a lot of build-up and suspense. You know, I would say it's just not Evil Dead if there isn't a lot of build-up before it gets especially out there. And yeah, there are jokes that use gender and race, but a lot of the time the joke is at the expense of white male, Ash, and others, you know, for not knowing or understanding very much about minorities, yet acting like he's an expert. And like the trilogy and like most of the best horror movies, and something I don't feel like I've seen enough of in horror movies made after the year 2000. Maybe it's gotten better. I haven't been keeping up with all horror recently. The show will sometimes set up something and pay off on it. Let's see. And, you know, before something especially creepy, scary, or funny happens, there will be something set up, and the creepy, scary, or funny thing that happens does not violate what has been set up, but follows those rules. There's enough blood in the title reveal that appears after the first scene of each episode to earn it an R rating by itself. I'm not 100% sure if, like, from what I understand, Sam Raimi and his friends are, you know, fairly left-wing. I think that the show is mostly satirizing conservatives. I mean, it's the thing is, like, conservative media today has reached self-parody. It is essentially impossible to come up with something that is more ridiculous than what conservatives believe and what they put in media. So, yeah, but it does appear to me that there are, and certainly there are jokes in this that 100% are making fun of conservatives. I'm just not sometimes I go a little bit back and forth on whether or not it's like the majority. And let's see. Yeah, there are some early on. There's a bit of a... There's a thing where characters will go to a new location, meet someone who knows some stuff about the supernatural and demons. That person will try to help, and they'll, you know, maybe manage to provide a little step forward for the characters, but not necessarily join the main cast. And yeah, rinse and repeat. This does, after a while, stop happening, and they settle into a more, you know, yeah, a bit more varied kind of you know, obviously they're, you know, it's difficult for a TV show to completely avoid always, like, what's the word? Ever, like, doing the same thing more than once. I do think early on it had a little bit too much of that, but after a while, I don't think I want to give away exactly how long, but yeah, it settles into something that feels much less like it's just doing the same thing. And they do, like, there's a good variety of location and diversity in, like, the cast and such throughout the entire show. And let's see. Yeah, yeah, Ash and the others are going to try to find the solution to the Deadites, but the evil presence is after them and has no intention of allowing them to stop it. You know, they're going to have to fight it immediately, if not sooner. And let's see. Yeah, listening to the commentary tracks, it's extremely clear the main cast really get along, have fun performing together in the show, and that also really shows just from watching. And if you've listened to a Bruce Campbell commentary track before, you already know he's incredibly entertaining on them. You know, anecdotes, voice imitation, doing sound effects with his mouth. Occasionally, he frustratingly expresses misogyny. And let's see. The others on the commentary tracks tend to also be great. There's a lot of chemistry between the cast and crew. And let's see. Right, and, you know, in some of the commentary tracks, the actresses do talk about finding Ash attractive. So, fair enough. There's a lot of great stuff with Deadites and others playing mind games, convincing characters to do certain things. Some of the time you even find yourself thinking, wait, are they right about that? We see stuff that fits the Evil Dead universe, but we hadn't seen before. It wouldn't fit with the pacing scope and such of just a movie. And yeah, a lot of episodes, you know, feel like each is basically an individual Evil Dead movie. And yeah, I know the following is going to sound ridiculous, but this show actually is gorier and bloodier, more violent than the movies, in part because technology has advanced to the point where it's feasible to do this sort of thing. Like, honestly, it's almost to the level of a zombie video game rather than merely a zombie movie or zombie show. You know, part of it is that they can now very, very quickly make, you know, if they need someone to lose limbs, they can make that much faster than they could in the 80s. And let's see. Right, the character of Kelly makes her own t-shirts, part of her punk rock aesthetic, and the costume department do a fantastic job making all of them feel like they are ones that could have been made by a person who has more personality than money. The show explores Ash Williams, including his past. We come to understand why he is the way he is. And I'm gonna talk a little bit more. Yeah, there's a character on the show named Pablo, and yeah, he's just great. He has a bit of a connection. You know, let's see, I forget exact. Now it's pretty early that they say a family member of his taught him about the supernatural, so he contributes with expert knowledge where, you know, Ash kind of stumbles, you know, into this shit. And yeah, you know, like other, you know, the movies also tend to have either a character or sometimes it's just like it's on audio tape or something, but, you know, we get some explanation of the supernatural. Now, let's see. Yeah, right. So, IMDb Trivia notes that Starz canceled the series after 3 seasons due to low ratings. The drop in ratings was likely due to illegal downloads. Ash vs. Evil Dead was one of the most popular pirated shows at the time, which I think really goes to show, like, I hate when people say that piracy is a victimless crime. It isn't. I agree, not with the action. I agree that there is some of these, you know, some of the people at the very top behind these shows treat their employees very badly, and I get thinking that you're only, you know, you're pissing them off, but is that, you know, but no, shows are canceled because of piracy. And one critic said, this last bastion of comedy for adults has been abandoned because it has bruised some snowflakes' delicate sensitivities. All the television shows that have been ruined by these same people, Arrow, Supergirl, Legends, et al., and squandered opportunities of the new Lost in Space, and even my beloved Walking Dead, all with terrible ratings that are so PC now, they're unwatchables. The show was canceled because of ratings, because it was pirated. Campbell himself said, no one knows what Starz is. Like, I tried researching this claim. I didn't find any credible evidence that it was canceled because, like, yeah, I'm sure some people did find it offensive, but there's lots of shows that were actually only strengthened. Like, off the top of my head, Marriage with Children, you know, there was that one person who tried to have that canceled because she thought it was offensive, and it just made a lot of people watch the show, and the show kept going for like 8 or 9 more seasons after that, something like that, you know. So yeah, it's truly pathetic how conservatives blame the left for literally everything. Like, just go after the pirates. Just, you know, that's something we can agree with. You know, I hate that the show was canceled, and I do understand why some conservatives liked it, though I do have to wonder if this guy picked up on all the jokes at conservatives' expense, because, like, if not, like, to be clear, if not, if he was like, that's fucking funny, I'm okay with you making a joke about me as long as it's fucking funny, 100% agreed. Yes, absolutely. It's just that, like, people have been physically assaulted over making jokes about, for example, Trump. You know, so, yeah, which also, yeah. In June 2016, a Facebook user, I'm quoting Wikipedia directly here, a Facebook user posted a photo of a bruised, bloodied, and scratched Samara Weaving without identifying that the woman in the image was Weaving or any actress. The photo was accompanied by the caption, "The result of fascism in America," which I mean, that's what Trump's trying to do, but simply because she was a Trump supporter. Although some news outlets clarified that the photo was of Samara Weaving, she was not really injured. Many supporters of then-candidate Donald Trump were convinced that the image was proof of liberal violence against Trump supporters. In support of this misinterpretation of the photo, the post was shared close to 30,000 times. To try to counter this misinformation, the star Bruce Campbell tweeted, "Check your facts, folks. This is an actress named Samara Weaving from hashtag Ash vs. Evil Dead. This is a makeup test. Sad." Weaving herself tweeted, "I really hate this." Trump supporters will believe anything. This is far from the most ridiculous thing they believe. And again, like, if we're talking about violence in relation to, yeah, there's a bunch of Trump supporters that have physically assaulted, some even killed, people who don't support Trump. You know, they tried to fucking hang his vice president because the vice president, like, to this day, I'm still not 100% sure what they even thought he would be able to do, because there's no legal president. He didn't refuse to do a thing because he thought, I don't know about that. No, there's literally nothing he could have done. Like, I guess he could have tried doing it and just, like, I don't know, hoped that people would be like, well, you know, I guess we could. No, he wasn't, but, you know, Trump doesn't accept when the law, you know, things are wonderful and amazing if they support him, and terrible if they don't. And let's see, yes, Joseph LaDuca, you know, contributes the score for the show, and they also uses excerpts from various 1970s and 80s popular songs. And let's see, but right, yeah, and for those who might not know, Joseph LaDuca also composed the scores for the films. And let's see. Yeah, and let's see. I think this is this from. Shit, I need to. Yeah, I'm not 100% certain, but this is either IMDb Trivia or Wikipedia. I'm quoting here. In an interview, Sam Raimi states that the music selected for the series is based. Yeah, and what I just said, a lot of that is based on the lack of growth of the Ash character over the past 30 to 35 years, and the music should reflect the last time he was engaged in society and living. One person said that this show is an ode to the age of Trump, and that, you know, this person liked it because they also said awesome in every way, which Trump and awesome, yeah, hard pass. Gonna have to completely disagree with with that. I maintain that no matter what your opinions are, you should hate Donald Trump. Like, if you agree with what he's trying to do, you should hate him for being so fucking ineffectual at it. And for actually, like, he's making it more difficult for conservatives to get done what they're trying to get done, because he's, now there's this pocket of the party that is so far, like, a lot of the stuff they want, literally, you can't even do. Like, I guess if he manages to make America a fascist state, he'd be able to do it, but other than that, you can't do it. So it's just the other Republicans who might overall agree that they basically want that thing, but they're like, the ones in politics, I mean, the legislators and such, they're like, this is literally not doable. Like, just look into it. That this is not something we can actually do. And then they get caught like rhinos and just, yeah. As someone very, very far left, I don't mind that conservatives, are really struggling to get accomplished what they want, because they've chosen to use the power they had to slow down progress, throughout Obama's entire time. I'm not saying Obama was perfect, 100%. There's a lot of stuff I wish he did different, but they just didn't want a democratic president, democratically elected president, to actually be able to accomplish anything. Now, let's see. But yeah, so I tried to figure out, what does this person mean about an ode to the age of Trump? I suppose what they're referring to must be that Ash and Trump are both old white men convinced of their superiority over women. They insist that they're the right man for the job despite their countless failings, including arrogance, stupidity, frequently being extremely ineffective. Like, the biggest differences between the two are that while both of them insist that they are needed to solve a problem, let's see, Ash may have had a huge part in creating the problem, but there is an actual problem that he's looking to solve, whereas Trump on occasion has said things that implies that he understands that there are things that could be improved, but instead of doing anything about that once he got power, he just enriched himself, made everything he could worse to the extent that he was able to. And of course the fact that while Ash is fictional, just someone you watch and laugh at, we wish Trump was, rather than having all the destructive power he has, and hopefully won't have again. Let's see, and I think that might, yeah, right, yes, I wanted to, I wanted to say, I think each episode just gets better, yeah. And this is also one of those, you could binge this show, there's 28 episodes, and you could watch those in a matter of days if you really wanted to. I watched about one per week, rarely more than that. Let's see, and yes, if you get to the end of season 1 or season 2, and you're like, I like what I saw so far, or maybe you didn't, and but you don't really want to continue watching, you're fine to stop. The finales hint at what's to come, but they're not the, like, obnoxious cliffhangers where it's like, well, I have to keep watching. I love some shows that have cliffhanger season endings. Prison Break remains one of my favorite shows. There's some really, some major cliffhangers on Terminator Sarah Connor Chronicles, but I do really appreciate that this, if you only watch season 1 or only season 2, you can make up what happens next in your own mind and basically be fine. You'll be missing out, in my opinion, but yeah. And yeah, I rate this 8 serial Evil Dead Adventures out of 10. And yeah, Whether we're talking the season overall, the season finale, or the season opener, I feel like they just got better and better as they went over the course of this show. And there is apparently an animated follow-up coming up, because season 3 does not completely conclude the story, and I 100 it really sucks that they didn't get to, because like you listen to Bruce Campbell on commentary tracks and such, he was game for continuing, but he has since said the physical aspect, he's not going to be able to keep doing that. And yeah, I mean, there's a difference between that, now and then back in like the 80s and 90s when he was a younger guy than he is now. But he is set to reprise his role in the animated show, and it's supposed to pick up where this show leaves off. So really looking forward to that, and I definitely do think they can do some great stuff with animation with a property like this. So let me know in the comments, what was your favorite aspect of the show? Favorite episode, favorite character, something like that. Favorite bit of gore and violence. If you like this video, please thumbs up, subscribe, hit that little bell. There should be a link to my main channel page, one or more links and stuff like relevant places. That's just a video for watch on the screen right about now. If that thing is working again, recently it's been giving me a hard time. And yeah, I try to do several videos a week, just to not risk fucking it up again. I'm gonna, yeah, just be aware. If you do subscribe to my channel, there's more coming up, though. Obviously it's gonna be a little while before I talk about Evil Dead, now that I've done videos on every episode of the show. I've done this spoiler-free review. I've done videos on all 5 movies, I do have the game on Epic, but right now my wrists are not loving like co-op and multiplayer, which I understand is a pretty big part of that game. When I've recovered some more, I will play it. And eventually do videos on it, or at least one video on it. And yeah, really looking forward to the animated show, and yeah, hope to catch you some other time.